Ooh, ah, ooh, la la la.
Oh, behave.
You're probably looking for a way to increase the sexiness in your drawings. I'm dr.Draw, or Alex as my friends call me, and today I'm gonna help you with just that.
Which is all about anatomy. Sexy poses means understanding muscles like the biceps, the pecs, and the core. And specific body parts like the breasts.
No, we don't. Anatomy is handy, but it isn't necessary to know everything about anatomy to draw sexy poses. Anatomy helps you to convey realistic figures, but realistic isn't the same as sexy. I used to be focused at anatomy a lot when I was a beginning artist as well, and in some cases this backfired. Like you can see over here. She has an enormous duck face and I'm not sure what's going on with that hand. Sometimes I would get something nice, like this one, or this one if I paid extra attention to shading. Anatomy and shading are pillars of figure drawing, but there are more you can use, and two of those are essential specifically to drawing sexy poses. Squash and stretch, which is a fundamental principle in the field of animation, and the use of triangles, which is a design principle and primarily used in photography. Using these two principles can make you better at drawing sexy poses, even without using the other pillars like anatomy or shading. As a beginning artist, I thought I needed to know one thing in order to do another thing. For example, learning anatomy to draw sexy poses. But now that I'm a bit more experienced, I know that I was wrong. Anatomy is for conveying a feeling of realism, while squash and stretch is used for conveying a feeling of liveliness, and in this case, sexiness. Let's take a closer look at those principles, and let's start with squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is used in many Disney animations, but let me explain using this ball. It moves, but it doesn't feel alive. If we add another ball with squash and stretch, you can see the difference. The right one feels way more alive. That's because it stretches when it moves up and down and squashes when it hits the ground. But we could also use this concept on a box. Let's say we want to stretch this side of the box that way. Then this side will squash, and it will look something like this. Squash and stretch are concurrent forces, meaning that if one increases, the other does as well. The more we stretch, the more we squash. We can go pretty far with this until it gets kinda unsexy. Okay, that's nice and all, but how does this relate to drawing sexy poses? In this drawing by Ben Lowe, we see a stretch on the bottom and a squash in the back. And in this one by Kim Jung-gi, we see a stretch on the right and a squash on the left. Using the philosophy of a box, this pose would look something like this, drawn with a squashy box. And the second one would look something like this, which kind of reminds me of Anaconda.
My anaconda don't.
Alright. Let's take a closer look at our second pillar, triangles, which is best explained with photography. In this video by Anita Sodowska, a photographer, you'll see that she searches for triangles in the pose. And you can add these triangles from all angles, like here when the model is arching her back, which is a whole lot sexier than the left pose. It's always nice to use a couple of triangles in designing your pose because it creates a feeling of rhythm. Although triangles are also used for designing villains like Maleficent. But that's a whole different subject.
I've got some children I need to make into corpses!
See you real soon.
This might all sound a little bit technical, triangles, squash and stretch, but there's another way of explaining sexy poses, and that's by confidence. And confidence is best explained using Superman. Superman is pretty much the definition of confidence, and I would be too if I could be set on fire or if I was strong enough to lift an oil rig. But when we think of Superman, we often think of this pose, which is also known as a power pose. A power pose is characterized by spreaded legs, chest forward, arched back, chin up, and arms in the side. In other words, it has a squash and stretch and triangles. The principles we just discussed are design principles, but confidence works on a deeper level, a psychological level. Now, you might argue that confidence works inside out, meaning if you feel confident, you behave confident. But that doesn't always have to be the case. It can also work outside in, meaning if you behave confident, you feel confident. And this has actually been found by Amy Cuddy, a psychologist who has found that a power pose can actually influence our hormone levels. Hormones are tiny chemicals inside our body that affect tons of processes, for example growth and development, but they also affect how we feel and how we behave. Let me explain what she found. She invited a bunch of people and took a saliva test, in which they found the hormones. Then split them up into two groups. Group A did a 2-minute high power pose, just like Superman. Group B did a 2-minute low power pose, in other words, a low confidence pose. Then all participants did another saliva test, and what they found was amazing. Those striking a low confidence pose had a 10% decrease in testosterone and a 15% increase in cortisol. And those striking a high power pose had a 20% increase in testosterone and a 25% decrease in cortisol. Now, testosterone, the primary male sex hormone, is associated with assertiveness and confidence, which can be pretty handy to have running through your veins when you need to play an important match, while cortisol is more associated with experiencing stress. In other words, striking a power pose with squash and stretch and triangles increases confidence and decreases stress. It's damn sexy.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Being muscular or having boobs does help, I'm not gonna lie, but in the end, those superficial elements are nothing compared to knowing how to communicate and radiate sexiness. And those are simple elements we can use in our own drawings or in our own body language. The fundamental aspect of drawing sexy poses is feeling confident, artistic confidence. Artistic or creative confidence is about believing in yourself and your abilities. It means turning self-criticism in self-compassion. As David Kelly puts it, creative confidence is the notion that you have big ideas and that you have the ability to act on them. I understand confidence sounds like a vague concept, but it's actually interwoven with drawing and making art. And that's exactly what I do on Patreon. Patreon is a platform where I post monthly tutorials about how to draw, but also how to build artistic confidence. Check the link in the description below, but first let me give you an example on how to draw sexy poses. First, try to get comfortable with a 2-dimensional squash and stretch like we did earlier. Add a squash on one side and a stretch on the other. Then add a triangle for the arms and legs and have the figure look at the camera. This feels confident. If you want to do it in 3D, you also want to start with the torso, but try using 2 boxes. One representing the ribcage and the other representing the pelvis. We add a core in between to enhance the organic feeling. To add depth, you can rotate this and add triangles for the arms and legs. These give an idea for the perspective. All these small studies give us a setup we can use to make the final drawing. Now I know this all looks pretty nice when sped up, but you have to understand that I've drawn over hundreds of these poses and it took me years to understand this, so don't be too hard on yourself. Learning to draw sexy poses is like learning a language, a visual language, and it takes time for our brain to digest those learnings. Let me explain using this platform. This platform represents your brain. Daily conversation doesn't take up a lot of space, but imagine daily conversation in a foreign language. That takes up a lot of space. It might even overload your brain a little bit, which makes us feel depressed. So instead of taking a big leap, take a small step like learning basic words. And over time it will take up less space. Then we can add another challenge like asking for time. It's the same with learning to draw sexy poses. First, focus on squash and stretch. Over time it will take up less space on your working memory and you can add triangles to your studies. The reason I can draw this is because I'm comfortable with drawing squash and stretch, triangles, line confidence, and drawing in Photoshop. Now you can spend hours copying and drawing sexy poses, but I think by now you understand it's more important to know the fundamentals. This way you can develop your own style as an artist. And this is exactly something I cover in my Domestika course. Together with Domestika, I've developed a course on how to add expression to your figure. Over 3,000 students have joined and we've gotten tons of great responses, like this one by Jordan Avery 47. Fantastic course, very to the point and beginner friendly. I'm currently getting beaten up over trying to simplify forms and draw dynamic boxes, and love every second of it. Not only do you get those little tips and tricks that improve your current level, you also get taught a very crucial skill: how to practice. Seriously, give it a try, 10 out of 10, we'll do it again. and again and again. Thanks for the kind words, Jordan. But let's do a quick recap. Sexy poses are confident poses and have a couple of essential characteristics. First, they use squash and stretch. Second, they are designed with triangles, and last but not least, the character looks with confidence in the camera. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Underneath this video, you'll find links to my Domestika course and Patreon. But for now, thanks for watching and stay diggity drawing. Adios! Triangles, monthly, and have the lugger, and have the lugger.
No.